Hey Siri, find me a taco place.
One option I found is Del Taco on South La Tijera Boulevard in Los Angeles. About 3 miles to your east, and it gets 60% positive ratings. Does that one sound good?
Absolutely not. Apple CarPlay Ultra is Apple's effort to make it easier and safer to use your iPhone in the car by extending it to every display, including the dashboard. Now this is the Aston Martin DBX 2025. This is the first vehicle with Apple CarPlay Ultra. So let's see if it makes the CarPlay experience any better. Phone owners have liked to be able to just have the interface they know and trust, which is, after talking to some of the Aston Martin pros back at the show house here, they talked about, well, their customers really wanted CarPlay. And who doesn't? It's a fairly simple interface to use, and everyone knows it from using their iPhone so much. Using CarPlay is so familiar to everyone who has an iPhone, and they often found that they found that even customers outside the US, Asia and whatnot, they're using more and more iPhones and they want CarPlay. Now, don't let this fun yellow paint fool you. The Aston Martin DBX 2025 I'm sitting in is $250,000 starting, plus a bunch of trim options. So this is obviously priced for the for a high clientele, but paying a lot for a car, you kind of want the best in the interface, right? So what's the difference between regular CarPlay and CarPlay Ultra? Well, it's pretty much everything that wasn't in regular CarPlay. When you use it, you get music, you get maps. Those are super helpful. Basically the only things I use when I drive my car. CarPlay Ultra lets you fiddle with everything else. So if I wanted to fiddle with climate controls, I couldn't do that in regular CarPlay. But with CarPlay Ultra, I can just tap here, and it's integrated to raise the fan speed or raise and lower the temp. I can also access the radio. I can turn on my favorite station, which of course is KCRW. The big question is whether this is a superior version of CarPlay. Is it the next generation of CarPlay? Yeah, I'd say so. But we've only gotten to drive a little bit with it, but we can already see how it can integrate a lot more things like climate control and radio and so on into just the same user interface. And I think that's the important part because when you're buying a new car, you have to figure out how everything works inside it, how the car manufacturer has decided to make their whole interface. Where is this alarm? Where is this alert situation? Where's my mileage? Where can I reset things? Where can I put radio? How will my phone, the center of my life now, work with the interface of the car? And this skips all of that, especially with something like climate control. And the great part is you don't have to sacrifice your dials and knobs. As a driver of a Mazda, I like that they have kept a lot of their manual controls, and this is no different. I can control my fan, my temperature, I can fiddle with volume, and I know where it is. My hands have muscle memory here. That is great. There's still a bunch of buttons. But if I want to go deep into the features, it is fast, zippy, and as responsive as my phone, as iOS. So it also has all of my contacts and everything else that I have with my phone. So more deeply connecting with the iOS and Apple ecosystem, it's only a positive from where I'm sitting. I'm sitting in a pretty nice place. Now it's a big question when Apple CarPlay Ultra is going to come to cars that we all buy. Maybe you don't have the budget for an Aston Martin, but it is pretty promising to see things that are so deeply integrated from this screen and my phone, and even the wheel, these touchpad controls that are pretty responsive and pretty nice. And I can only assume that's for more deeply integrating the mechanics of the car with the CarPlay Ultra. This is, of course, the first iteration of CarPlay Ultra, and manufacturers need to integrate it into their cars, but you can also expect everything coming down the line. CarPlay Ultra is going to get the same annual updates that CarPlay has, that iOS gets, et cetera, et cetera. That could mean further integration with the car. That could mean more software features. Right now, for instance, it has Apple Maps and Waze. Maybe we'll see Google Maps down the line with CarPlay Ultra. Maybe we'll see even more apps that we need or want. And, one of the better things is Siri integration. So there is a button on the wheel that will summon the voice assistant, much like a lot of cars have nowadays. So, I don't know, let's give it a whirl. Turn the fan up really high.
Fan speed is now set to 7.
Wow, there we go. So there's a lot of things that CarPlay Ultra can do through an understandable interface that Apple has. I believe it requires iOS 18.5, which is out right now. So if you buy an Aston Martin DBX 2025, then you can absolutely use it on the iPhone you have right now, provided it can update to that. Does it feel like a smarter CarPlay? Yes. Apple CarPlay Ultra feels smarter. Does it feel safer? Yes, but mostly for the caveat that we are getting more and more screens in more and more of our cars. I personally like how Aston Martin integrated this to have both screens and dial controls so that you aren't distracted if you want to do things like change the volume or climate. What I will say is that it's arguably safer to use than a lot of the proprietary interfaces that car manufacturers put into their cars, especially ones that have more of a touchscreen interface without any of the physical buttons. Those can be slow, they can be confusing, it can take a while to figure out where everything is inside them, especially if they route some of the more essential things within their digital interface, especially if you are very familiar with iOS. The apps, radio, climate, vehicle, you can see them. They're just like apps you would use in iOS or iPadOS. All the training you have done using your iPhone is going to prepare you to use CarPlay Ultra and find a lot of what you want inside a basic interface that people have been using since the original iPhone in 2007. Aston Martin pointed out that yes, its clientele is a little bit up there, so their owners probably have a fleet of cars. And this means that when they transfer between them, if they all have Apple CarPlay Ultra, well, the interface is the same. And, you know, people with multiple cars in a household, if they all have CarPlay Ultra, then that interface is going to be the same between them. And there are even multiple iPhone profiles that you can switch between, so you can hot load yourself into the car the instant you load in. That's all of your custom preferences set. That, in this case, is a lot of the way you want your dashboard to look, along with climate settings, vehicle settings, safety settings, stuff like that. So it is a quick shortcut to get the car the way you want it when you pop into it, and it only takes a couple seconds to load up your profile to have the car suited to how you like it. So Apple CarPlay Ultra is starting to roll out in this vehicle, the DBX 2025, and anything after that in June 2025 and onward. So look out for car manufacturers to start integrating it into cars to come, most of which hopefully are less than $250,000. Now, before we have to return this fine automobile, there's one more thing we have to do. Hey Siri, find me a taco place.
One option I found is Del Taco on South La Tijera Boulevard in Los Angeles. About 3 miles to your east, and it gets 60% positive ratings. Does that one sound good?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's go to Teddy's Red Tacos. So that's our first look at Apple CarPlay Ultra in a $250,000 car that, with Siri and everything else in there, brought us to the end of our adventure, some birria tacos.